First of all, congratulations on the film. I saw it as part of the Toronto Film Festival. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for talking to me. It's really good to talk to you about the film. Obviously, there's a lot of ideas floating around in the film about memory, how we form memories, what they mean to us. And I picked up quite strongly, as I think many people have, particularly on certain strands, like the allegories with social media in particular. The image that really stays in my head is Aris flipping through a photo album of photos that he's been directed to take, with this just complete deadpan look on his face. There's no, it's like there's no real emotional attachment to that. And I want to connect that to the setting the film in kind of an analog world. There's no internet, there's no smartphones, anything like that. Was part of the reason for that do you feel like technological progress adds a bit of a sheen to this whole thing, where we've never been connected to more people, but maybe those connections have never meant as little as they sometimes do in these spaces? I was wondering if that was maybe part of the reason for the lack of digital technology in the film, basically.
Yes, for sure. In general, I think that the digital technology has affected a lot our memory, because I don't know how old are you, but for example, I'm 36, and I remember that when I was very young,
Yeah.
I remember by heart around 50 phone numbers.
Yeah.
Right now, I remember one or two, and we know how to go everywhere without a map or something like that. And right now we're using all the time Google Maps. So in a way, I feel that our memory, even when you want to remember a name, you are not doing this. You are taking in IMDb. What is the name of this actor? What is the name of? So we are not practicing so much our memory anymore with the use of the technology. And in that way, I feel that we are losing a little bit of our ability of remembering things. And then the reason why we used it, it's also because we try to use elements that are almost forgotten, like Polaroid cameras or old TV, old radios, or old items that are not used anymore. And as we were trying to give a nostalgic approach, and I also feel that for me, it's stronger to make a comment about technology when you are not showing technology at all than to just show all the people, and Ari is the main character, for example, walking on the street with his cell phone all the time and checking his cell phone in order to make a comment about how we use technology. And then from the other hand, it's for sure also a comment about social media, as you mentioned before. Because I feel that what is scary for me is that how we experience life right now, as we care more about the photo than to live the moment. And our main character is imitating things that he listens on a tape recorder, and then he takes a selfie with a Polaroid camera, and he uploads the photo on a normal photo album. When people upload their selfies with a Polaroid filter in a digital photo album in their social media account. So, yes, we wanted to make comment about how our society has changed with the extensive use of technology and social media.
One thing I also wanted to ask was, now obviously the mechanism in the film really for how people end up losing their memory is effectively this pandemic, right? And it's kind of an accident of timing, really, right? Because obviously with the on the time scale that you've conceived of the film and then shot it, the current situation wasn't really something that could have been predicted. What I was wondering is the fact that the film has basically come out during that entire period. Do you worry at all any of the things that you intended with the film being lost in that sort of backdrop, or do you lean more on the side of maybe appreciating the extra relatability that it could give some viewers to the film, or a bit of both even.
Yes, I feel that it's actually both, because from one hand, for sure, the viewers could resonate easier, as this doesn't sound like a science fiction, but sounds something that they have lived very recently, and actually they are still living, and they can resonate easier with elements like isolation, loneliness, uncertainty about the future that we're also dealing in the movie. And in the movie, I feel that something that I hope that they will take from the movie is that we are giving an optimistic approach to it and an optimistic ending. But then I also hope, from the other hand, that the audience will not stay on the pandemic, because actually it's not a movie about the pandemic.
No.
It's a movie about much, much more things. The pandemic is just the engine to start telling the story about. It's an allegory. It's something that happens in the mind of the characters, and I hope that the movie will work, and that the audience will feel it even after the end of the pandemic, or I mean that the subject of memory is something timeless, and I hope that it will work all the time in that way.
I wanted to talk to you about the casting of Aris, purely in that he really has a, to my mind, he's kind of got this perfect expression, or in some cases lack of expression, for a lot of the scenes in the film. I was wondering at what point he became involved. Is this something that you conceived with him in mind, or was it something that happened through the casting process? I was just wondering how he came to be in the role, basically.
With Aris, we worked together in the short film that I directed before, because I have directed one short film, and he was the main actor. And so after the short film, we decided that we would love to work together again. And with my co-writer, we started writing the script with him in our mind. We knew from the beginning that he would play. So it was very easy for us to imagine all the moves and everything that he's doing in the movie. As I know him very well. I mean that we're good friends, and so I know very well what he can do as an actor and how he performs. And I love the minimalistic way of performing, that this lack of emotions, it looks like lack of emotions, but I feel that it's very deep sometimes. And we decided to follow this way in the movie, this way of performing. And then something that I admire a lot on him is the way that he uses his body language. Because he was also working in the past as a dancer, performer. And we tried to challenge him, to give him more challenges about this through the script, in order to create a character that has also references from, because I asked him to watch some movies of Jacques Tati, and 2 movies with Jim Carrey, The Eternal Sunshine and The Truman Show, in order to create a character that has a little bit also a comedic side by performing with his body, and something very, very deep in the way that he looks, and very melancholic.
On that note, in terms of the tone of the performance, and you mentioned like some other films and filmmakers that you asked him to take a look at. I was wondering what role, if any, Roy Andersson played in kind of the tone that you are approaching the film with. The reason I ask is because there's been a lot of comparisons made between you and other Greek filmmakers, obviously like Yorgos Lanthimos, and that comparison has been made a lot. But watching the film, I actually got quite strongly that sort of deadpan, absurdist humour off it, and I was wondering how much of a role that played in how you want to approach telling this story.
From the recent film history, my two favorite European directors are Leos Carax and Roy Andersson.
Mm-hmm.
So Roy Andersson is a guy that even in Greece, here in Athens, I mean, we did a few years ago, we did I organized a retrospective with all his films, all his commercials, all his short films. So it's a person that I really admire.
Okay, good.
And I feel that, yes, the deadpan humor that we have in the film is in a way inspired by his filmography.
Yeah, I got it. The scene that I have in mind is the does anyone know who Batman is? Yes. Like that. It was that bit that I kind of had in mind with that sort of thing. In terms of the story of the film, now obviously a lot of what frames moment to moment is these tasks that Aris is given by the doctors to kind of build memories and connection and all the rest of it. How did you come up with those tasks? Were they connected to certain real life things you had in mind, or were they driven by other things?
Most of them are things that I have lived in a way. I have experienced a lot of things, but then we were also trying to find different moments of and common moments actually of an average person, of an average life, because we wanted to create very, very simple tasks that sounds very simple. For example, like a car crash. That is something that almost everybody has experienced, even in a strong or in a very light way. But how you can experience all these things when somebody is asking you to do them again from the beginning and to leave them. And so, yes, we made a list with my co-writer. There were more, of course, and some of them that were maybe more funny, or some of them that were almost impossible to do them, like the jumping from a parachute that we were having in a script in a different way. With a parachute, I mean from an aeroplane. And yes, we try to create, as I said, common moments, common memories of an average life that create different emotions.
I was wondering, so I mentioned before that obviously you've worked with Yorgos Lanthimos before, and that's a comparison that a lot of people have made with this film. I was wondering how you felt about that, because it feels to me a little bit more like there's common influences and roots perhaps, but the approach felt a little bit different to me. In that I felt there was a lot more, you linger on Aris's face quite frequently, and there's a lot of emphasis on human connection or lack thereof. I was basically just wondering how you felt about that comparison, because there's certain things that, and then the pandemic thing that we've already spoken about, where I wonder if as a filmmaker you worry about people coming to the film with preconceived notions of how it's going to be based on that association that maybe isn't 100% accurate.
I know when somebody is going to watch a new Lanthimos film, in this film, he will never see that. I mean, that for me, it's not Lanthimos film at all. With Yorgos, because I know Yorgos, and we have discussed a lot about movies in the past, who were having almost from the beginning many common references. I mean, that I know that we both love Bresson, we love Roy Andersson, but I feel that it's different, that you can see some references and you can see, but it's different. I feel that the style and the tone of the film and the dialogues in general is very, very different. And also the film that is more close to, because he's also creating a world, is maybe that is more close to his movies, is maybe Lobster. But we wrote Apples 2 years before Lobster, so I don't know what to say for that. I mean, I really don't know how to. Yes, it's so. Maybe somebody will recognize it, or I don't know. I feel that I wish that the audience will go and watch a movie without thinking that I will watch a new Lanthimos movie or a movie about a pandemic. And I feel that they will be more surprised if they will go in that way than to wait to see. Because, for example, I read some reviews or some reactions that it wasn't so sarcastic or so dark as Yorgos. But why the movie has to be sarcastic or dark?
Yeah.
Who said this? Who asked me to make a sarcastic or a dark movie? And so I disappointed people. No, I'm feeling that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking to me. I enjoyed the movie a great deal. So thank you for making it, and I hope it has a great amount of success once it gets into UK cinemas once they finally reopen.
Yes, let's hope that first of all the theaters will reopen, and then all the rest of the things will happen. I mean, let's hope that we will return to watch movies in the big screen.